95 dealership locations. That is how many showrooms one of the largest fishing boat retailers in America now operates after quietly restructuring more than $14 million in losses tied to closed stores and layoffs. Across town, the largest boat retailer in the entire country just posted a same-store sales decline of 15% and shut a dealership down completely, laying off every one of its 43 employees. This is not happening during a recession. It is happening while the industry keeps calling this a recovery. And here is the detail that should make you angry. While fishing boat dealers were bleeding out, the average price of a saltwater fishing boat had already more than doubled since 2019, not up 10%. Doubled. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why fishing boat dealerships are collapsing across America, why the industry did this to itself on purpose, and why one boat builder who refused to play that game just proved everyone else wrong. Rewind to 2020 and 2021. Stimulus checks, free money, interest rates, nobody able to travel, and every family near water decided this was the year for a fishing boat. Dealers could not keep aluminum John boats and center consoles on the lot. People put deposits down on hulls that were still sheet aluminum in a factory. Manufacturers looked at that frenzy and made a choice that is now gutting the industry. Instead of building more affordable fishing boats for all these new buyers, they leaned into the boats with the fattest margins, because a $50,000 center console makes far more profit per unit than a $12,000 aluminum skiff. Lending institutions that finance dealer inventory say this plainly on the record, that as manufacturers shifted toward higher margin products, production of lower margin high volume models declined, reducing options for value-oriented buyers. Value-oriented buyers is corporate language for the guy who just wanted a 17-foot skiff for the weekend, not a floating status symbol. The pricing damage is staggering specifically in this category. The average cost of a saltwater fishing boat has more than doubled since 2019. Not up 10%, not up 30%, doubled. One industry executive said it outright at the 2026 forecast. Boat prices are extraordinary, well past what an average family can afford, and boating is transitioning from a sport to a luxury activity. And it is not just the hull. A flagship 450 horsepower outboard alone now lists for over $52,000 at dealerships, before a boat, a trailer, or a single piece of electronics, and plenty of serious offshore fishing boats run 2, 3, or 4 of those engines. Meanwhile, new powerboat sales fell almost 9% in 2025 alone, and the pain is landing hardest, in the National Marine Manufacturers Association's own words, at the entry level, where financing costs have the greatest impact. Translation: the guy buying a flats boat on a loan got squeezed out first. So who is actually going under? MarineMax, the largest boat retailer in the world, and a major dealer for Boston Whaler, among other fishing brands, posted a same-store sales decline of 15% this year and shut its Lindenhurst, New York location entirely, laying off all 43 employees, with the reason listed on the government notice as one word: economic. OneWater Marine, whose dealership network sells Grady-White, Pursuit, Creval, and Sea Pro across 95 locations nationwide, booked more than $14 million in restructuring and impairment charges tied to closures and headcount cuts. When the two biggest fishing boat carrying dealer groups in the country are both cutting stores and staff in the same year. That is not a rough patch. That is a structural collapse working its way through the whole distribution chain. If this kind of breakdown is helping you understand what is actually happening in this industry, subscribe, because the pattern only gets more specific from here. It gets worse when you follow the debt. Dealers do not own the fishing boats on their lot outright. They finance every hull through floor plan financing, paying interest on inventory every single day it sits unsold. When a manufacturer pushes product downstream to hit its own quarterly numbers, the dealer absorbs that carrying cost, and in a downturn, the dealer becomes the shock absorber for the entire supply chain. Lender data on saltwater fishing boats specifically shows inventory now turning less than 1.5 times a year, with the share of boats sitting unsold for over 12 months swelling toward the mid-20% range. 1 in 4 saltwater fishing boats on a dealer lot has been gathering dust for over a year, and every one of them is bleeding that dealer dry in interest and storage costs daily. That is exactly why you are now seeing brand new outboards and fishing boats advertised thousands of dollars under sticker. That is not generosity. That is a dealer trying to breathe. Now add tariffs, because this is where the industry's own supply chain turns against it. In 2025, a 50% tariff landed on imported steel and aluminum is fishing boats. Aluminum john boats and pontoons make up over half of all boats sold in America, roughly 96,000 aluminum hulls a year, and aluminum is also what most outboard motors and boat trailers are built from. The industry's own trade association says overlapping tariffs have increased manufacturing costs and put pressure on pricing at exactly the moment demand cratered, and one major manufacturer alone absorbed $75 million in net tariff costs in a single year. It gets worse when you look at what is inside even the flagship American-branded outboards powering these fishing boats. Propellers, impellers, and electrical components frequently come from overseas, meaning the exact tariffs meant to protect American manufacturing are instead raising the cost of the parts bin every outboard brand draws from. Analysts now project new boat prices climbing another 4% in 2026 on top of everything already stacked on. Here's the part the industry does not want you connecting. Americans did not quit fishing. There are an estimated 11 million registered boats in use across this country right now. And freshwater fishing boats, the single most affordable major category in the entire market, are barely down at all, off just 1.5%, while everything above them cratered. Boats under $50,000 actually grew sales almost 9%, even as the $100,000 to $200,000 range collapsed over 14%. Boat club memberships built around shared access instead of ownership are climbing, and the used market is on fire precisely because used boats are trading 20 to 40% below their original peak prices. People did not stop wanting to fish. They stopped agreeing to finance a $50,000 boat at 7 to 10% interest to do it, and they found every alternative to a showroom that let them keep fishing anyway. In fairness to the industry, the National Marine Manufacturers Association insists 2026 is entering a period of relative stability, pointing to double-digit retail growth in January compared to a year earlier, and engine revenue up over 20% in the most recent quarter for one major manufacturer. But notice what is actually driving even that good news. It is the affordable segment, the exact category the industry spent a decade deprioritizing, that is keeping the lights on. You cannot call it a stable recovery when, in the same quarter executives were calling the corner turned, the two largest fishing boat dealer groups in the country were both closing stores and cutting staff. And one builder just proved that lesson in the most public way possible. In July of 2026, Eddie Smith, who bought Grady-White in 1968 at age 26 when the company was nearly bankrupt, turned down an offer of more than $400 million to sell it. Instead, he gave away ownership and control to a perpetual purpose trust, locking in the company's commitments to its employees, dealers, and customers permanently, with profits funneled to a nonprofit instead of a private equity exit. Current leadership stays in place, and Smith becomes an advisor rather than cashing out. Grady-White has also won every J.D. Power Marine study ever conducted and every consecutive NMMA Customer Satisfaction Award since that program began in 2003, a streak no other saltwater fishing boat builder has matched. The builder that never chased the highest possible margin on every hull is the one that just turned down a 9-figure buyout to keep doing exactly what it has always done, while the dealer groups selling boats built to squeeze the last dollar out of every buyer are the ones laying people off. So here is where this leaves you. The shakeout is not finished. Dealers are still holding too much aging saltwater inventory financed at rates that do not work anymore, and more closures are coming this fall among independents who cannot carry unsold boats through a slow season with no revenue. Expect a wave of smaller, simpler, cheaper fishing boats marketed to younger buyers over the next 2 years, and do not mistake it for innovation. It is an apology for the last decade. But the fix the industry is now scrambling toward was never a mystery. Freshwater fishing boats and Grady-White both proved the model the whole time. Build something a normal family can actually afford. Treat the relationship with your dealer and your customer like it matters more than this quarter's margin, and people keep buying regardless of what the rest of the market is doing. If you are shopping right now, every force wrecking this industry is working in your favor. Dealers desperate to move aging saltwater inventory, manufacturers piling on rebates, repossessed boats hitting the market, and used prices down as much as 40% from the peak. Ask exactly how long a boat has been sitting on the lot before you make an offer, because that number tells you more about your negotiating leverage than the sticker price ever will. And right now, for the first time in years, that leverage belongs to you.